How to make a huge amount of money on scientific publishing? What is the link between scientific communication journals and Epstein's scandal? And how our today's guest, together with his colleagues, tried to fight against these businesses which monopolized scientific communication market. This is the second part of 4 of our interview with German scientist Björn Brems. My name is Stefania, and you're watching Open Science TV. Before we'll continue our discussion with Björn, I would like to show you one thing. As you know from our previous videos that I finished my PhD 1 year ago in 2019, and for the moment I do not have any affiliation from the university or any other educational institution that can provide me an access to the scientific literature or to scientific library. But I'm still interested in the subject of my PhD research, mumps virus proteins, and actually I'm curious if there are any interesting publications that were out for the moment and that can help me to write more about mumps virus in future or to find potential collaborators. So I go to the academic Google Scholar, and write there mumps virus proteins. So I seek for the most recent, and actually I found something, regulation of mumps virus replication and transcription by kinase, RP something. So I go there, and this is the article which belongs to the American Society for Microbiology, Journal of Virology. And I actually want to check if I can download PDF, but I can't. Because I need to buy this article for $25. But the problem is that actually I have no idea what's inside this article. Can I use the data inside this article if it fits the subject of my previous research or something? So I don't know anything. I just have an abstract and the art, and I need to pay for it $25. So I decided to go to the ResearchGate platform. This is the social network for scientists, and seek for this article there, and I found it. This is yes, and actually there is no full article available, so I click to request. So I need to wait for a while when authors will see my request. But you may wonder why these authors do not put the full text publication on this website. Because commercial publishers, they apply strict copyrights on their articles. At the same time, this is actually the same while you listen to the music or watching videos on streaming platforms. You buy an access, so you are allowed to listen or to watch, but it is forbidden to use and to share to others. So, but the problem is that with scientific publications it's even worse, because the scientific research, it's not like commercial company like Netflix or Spotify. Science and its results are often funded publicly by taxpayers, by you and me, and we actually have a right to have an access to something that we paid for, haven't we? And in addition, for the moment we are not even able to see a demo version of this and other articles, just to estimate not only the content but the quality of research in general. In 2017, ResearchGate, which helped a lot of scientists to get articles for free, got a lawsuit from scientific publishers such as American Chemical Society, Brill Publishers, Elsevier, Wiley, Wolters Kluwer, that were united in coalition of responsible sharing. They were not happy about so-called copyright violations and the fact that many scientists were sharing and uploading their publications for free on ResearchGate platform. Up until the time, ResearchGate finally got an agreement with several publishers, such as Wiley. However, it is still not the case for the biggest scientific publisher, Elsevier, which forbids any sort of sharing on a ResearchGate platform. Björn, as you have said, and many open science activists claim, and I see from my side, that current problems in academia are directly linked to the fact that most of scientific literature, articles, books are owned by commercial companies, which are putting paywalls and copyrights on their content. How did it happen that all results of publicly funded scientific research are now locked and could be accessible if you pay for it? And actually, the article for $25 with the unknown content is actually not cheap at all.
Well, this can be traced back to the year 1664, when the first journal was founded. Before then, everybody, by Henry Oldenburg, right, the Proceedings of the Royal Society. And this is actually a journal that still exists. So this is the oldest journal on this planet. And it replaced scientists sending each other letters and writing books. And slowly over the centuries, this has grown into an industry. And essentially, the money-making tool that this industry became was started in no small part by a person called Robert Maxwell. Saw the business opportunity and founded a lot of journals and made sure that they all were generating a lot of revenue for him mainly. There's an interesting detail about that. His daughter, I think Ghislaine Maxwell, is the woman that worked with Jeffrey Epstein, and is the woman who allegedly was organizing all the young women to be exploited by and molested by Epstein.
Today we announced charges against Ghislaine Maxwell for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually exploit and abuse multiple minor girls from the period of 1994 through 1997. You'll recall that the indictment against Jeffrey Epstein that we filed in July of 2019 charged Epstein with sexual abuse of young girls from 2002 through 2005. This case against Ghislaine Maxwell is the prequel to the earlier case that we brought against Jeffrey Epstein. Maxwell was among Epstein's closest associates and helped him exploit girls who were as young as 14 years old. Maxwell played a critical role in helping Epstein to identify, befriend, and groom minor victims for abuse. In some cases, Maxwell participated in the abuse herself.
Oh my God, this is terrible. I didn't know they're all linked together. This is truly disgusting.
Yes, that's his daughter. And because Maxwell became so rich with academic publishing, that's why his daughter is present in circles where the super rich are present. That's why she meets these super rich people, because she's super rich herself, because her dad got rich by ripping off libraries.
And this is crazy. But what kind of a business Robert Maxwell ran, and how did he finally get rich?
Right, so this was in the 1970s, and he saw that academic libraries were willing to pay a lot of money. That's how the money-making business started. So it was a regular publishing enterprise from 1664 until the 1970s. And then it really started focusing less on how to serve science, but more on how to serve the shareholders and the rich owners of the publishing houses. And that's where the current issue that we're talking about also has its roots, right? Because when those publishers have more money making in focus rather than service providing, then of course service goes down and money goes up. And so this is what we see. Now, to their credit, what the publishers have done in the 90s, because demand was just overwhelming, they were very quick in getting their whole enterprise online. So to move from paper to digital, these academic publishers were probably among the first in any business that existed offline to transition to online. Now, clearly, that was due to overwhelming demand. They just probably wouldn't have survived if everything would have remained in paper. But essentially, since then, there have been hardly any technological upgrades. So the scientific literature technologically is essentially stuck in 1995. And a scientific paper today has about the functionalities as if we had carved our papers, our words and figures in stone slabs, taken a picture with a cell phone and put the cell phone picture online, because you can essentially read it and that's it.
And you should pay also for this picture.
And you pay for that, right? Exactly.
I know that you had tried to beat this system, to fight against it, together with John Tennant, which to our regret passed away in April. You made a legal complaint against commercial publisher Elsevier and other companies to the European Union Competition Authority. As you mentioned, these publishing companies, I'm citing from the document, actively prohibit competition in the common market between European Union member states and abuse a dominant position within this market. This is actually a very brave act, and how that could be possible that only you and John, two scientists, you became lawyers and wrote about, I think it's 20 pages explaining how these companies are misusing their monopolistic position to actually reduce scientific progress in European Union. And what actually happened after you submitted this document? Please tell us.
So this was John's initiative. He also contacted a lawyer to help him write this.
Okay.
Yes. He contacted several of us, and a bunch of us commented on the article and edited it and wrote on these pages. But in the end, only I was left who was in a position to put their name on it. Everyone else was a little bit afraid that Elsevier would find their name and do something negative to their careers or their lives in some other aspect. And so in total, we were about 5 to 10 people. Yeah, for me, I don't have to be very brave. I'm in a very safe position here in Germany, so there's not a whole lot that can happen, at least not career-wise. And nobody knows what Elsevier would be up to otherwise in terms of my life. But in terms of career, there's not a whole lot they can do. So this was a group effort of a lot of people, and it's only us two that are still left on there for a variety of reasons. But it's really it's a lot of people that have worked on this. And the starting point was that to put Elsevier there because Elsevier is just very visible and it's very obvious. The things that they do is very obvious, but most of what Elsevier is doing, all the other publishers are doing as well. And the reason for that is, like, for instance, that you tell the libraries, don't tell anyone what you're paying us. There's non-disclosure agreements, right? This is something everybody does that. And it's only one of the things that they do, and it's a very common thing. But Elsevier is an easy target. That's why we picked them. They're also a public company, which means that we get access to the kind of profits they make, these sorts of things. So that's why Elsevier is an easy target, both in terms of them being public and in terms of them being the biggest, and in terms of them really being more ruthless than all the other publishers. They just have no scruples at all. And then just over time, if you want to pick examples for bad publishing behavior, just look in the last 10 years, and they make so many things that are, it's not just easy to find examples. But that doesn't mean that the other publishers aren't doing the same things, just not as obvious and not as easy to pick. The background as to why the publishers are dominating the market so much is because it's not a real market. So this is something that has happened around the time when preprints started circulating and got their name. They're called preprints in the 1960s because people sent their manuscripts around via airmail to each other to comment on. And of course, this was all in paper. And it was before they were actually printed. You wrote them on your typewriter, put them in an envelope, and sent them to your friends. That's where the name preprint comes from. And this was in the early 1960s. And when this became a business in the 1970s, it became a problem because people got the idea this could reduce revenue, right? People don't subscribe to my journal anymore when they already know the content. And so people started putting, when you submit it to a journal, they started putting text in their submission saying, oh, and by submitting, I certify that I have not submitted this article elsewhere and I've not sent it elsewhere. And this happened before, and not long before, but around that time when a editor, I think it was the editor of the New England Journal of Medicine, a person called Ingelfinger, and he put that into writing, essentially. He said, everything that has been published before, I don't want to have it in my journal. And from then on, I think it was the late 60s, early 70s, I'm not entirely sure, you may want to look that up, we had the Ingelfinger rule. The Ingelfinger rule is every article only exists once, in one journal, nowhere else. And this Ingelfinger rule makes every publisher a monopoly for every article. Because if I want to find out how X treated cancer and what happened, there's only one article where this is described. And so essentially, I have no choice than to pay whatever the publisher asks because there's no competition. So that essentially, right? So now they have a monopoly and they can charge whatever they want, and that's what they've done, right? So they charged not according to what their costs are, but they charged according to what the libraries were able to pay. And that led us to the serials crisis, that led us to the open access problem. And all we did was to write to the commissioner and say, look, Elsevier is a particularly egregious example, but there is no market there because it's a monopoly. Shouldn't you do something? And essentially what the commissioner then answered was, well, okay, you may be right, but I don't think this is a job for us because you already have initiatives such as the EOSC, DEAL, and Plan S. They're already dealing with this problem. Why don't they do that? So that's essentially what he said. He said, oh, deal with it yourself. You have enough. You are enough people. You don't just don't pay them, right? He didn't say it like that, but that's sort of how it sounded to me. It's like, why do you come to us with that? I mean, this is your problem.
This is the end of the second part of 4 of our interview with Björn. Please share this video among your friends, your colleagues, your family, because it is very important to know how our money are spent by commercial companies which are nothing common with making available scientific research for everybody. If science will remain closed and under control of huge business holders, we will not get a right way out from the current pandemics. This is like committing a fall, which is, if not alarmed and warned, can swallow everything like a black hole. In the next part, you will get an idea how the publishing process works and how and what is the value of scientific prestige. Stay tuned for more episodes. Please subscribe to our channel and social media. Give us a like. And see you soon. Bye!